Good morning, everyone. I'm very, very happy to see so many of you taking time off your very busy schedule, coming to join us in this conversation, which is the first of a series of workshops about different aspects of life of the modern leaders, women, men, people who are making the decisions for the world and shaping the world. So we all feel that from time to time, we need support. We need to collaborate. We need to talk. We need to share. We need to feel that what we experience and what we deal with is real. And so my invitation today for you is to feel welcome, to really appreciate yourself taking time to invest into learning more about how we as humans create the success, and hopefully explore what's possible, what's the best practices, what's new ideas might be coming up, so we can all creatively make a shift and change in this world and the life of people we live with, we love, we lead. My name is Olga Rines, and I am a very interesting human being, I must say. And this is exactly what I want every single one of us today to experience for the next 55 minutes. The reason I'm speaking about interesting human being, because we're all complete humans. I am a certified life coach, executive coach, and health coach. I'm also a mom of 5 children. I'm also a professional. I'm also a business owner. I am also a dancer, a dreamer, an adventurer. I am also the advocate for wellness, for mental wellness, because life is happening and it's happening fast. And we all live in all dimensions of our life. So the conversation today will be about busyness, and it will be a little bit on the leadership side as well as on the personal side. But I want you to come into this conversation with an open heart and open mind, asking questions that you want to have answers for. And I also want you to connect to people in this community, because only together we can make a systemic change. No one can do it by themselves. But let's open the chat and have a conversation in the chat. I will ask you a couple questions, and I would very much appreciate your participation in that, because when we start typing and moving and participating, we really absorb information way, way better. I would like to know, where are you from? If you can put in the chat, please, which country you're from. We are on a mission to reach out millions of people and change life in all countries and all continents. It would be so lovely to say hello. So wonderful to see so many people coming from different countries, Washington, D.C. and Germany, Colombia. This is so awesome. I was born and raised in Russia, live in the United States, have traveled and worked in different countries, and it's always fantastic to meet people across cultures. The second question I want to ask you, I want you to come to this conversation and spend this hour of your time with a commitment to a decision that you want to come with from this conversation. If you can think of one decision you want to make for yourself and for people you love and lead that comes from the conversation about busyness and burnout, what would that decision be like? It could be something along the line, I want to create an hour of free time for myself, for my self-care. I want to have 2 actionable steps to help my teenager son who is dealing with depression or confusion in life. It could be, I want to have courage to speak to my boss about boundaries, about my work and my time. Anything that you want to come out from. If you make a decision, your brain will give you the answers and you will have an actionable step. So please play with your own intention. Set the intention, what decision you want to make as a result of this conversation. I really appreciate seeing your comments in the chat. I want to create a better life. Work-life balance, that's an awesome intention. Want to do more networking, connecting with people, 1 hour a day consistently for myself. Beautiful, beautiful intentions. Please set them. It's something important for yourself. And the third question I want to ask you, and then we're going to shift into this conversation, is how are you? I would like to hear 2 ways of answering this question. 1, on a scale 1 to 10. 10 being amazing life, peace, happiness, fulfillment. 1 being stress, anxiety, work that I don't want to do, life I don't want to live. Where are you on a scale 1 to 10? Put the number in the chat, please. So we have a 5s and 8s and 5 and 8s and 7s. Awesome. And now I want you to answer the last question before, and when we jump into this conversation. How are you? If you were to answer this question, I meet you in the hallway and I ask you, how are you? What would be the words that will come out of your mouth? Doing great, tired, squeezed, I'm okay, not sure, great, doing well. So let me try it once again. What we just saw, people were talking about, I'm 5, I'm 6, I'm 4, I'm 7. That is not the definition of greatness the way I see it. Because if we do not want to see the truth and look into our life and know exactly where we are, where we want to be, and what that distance is, so we can make an actionable step to get there, we're not going to be able to get there because we're not being truthful to yourself. So let me ask again, and that's okay to not be okay. It is okay to see your reality as is, because when you see it, you can change it. You can manage it when you know what it is. So let me try again. How are you? I'm good. I'm well. I'm fine. I'm okay. Who is busy? Surviving, doing great, anxious, me. The most common answer to the question that we ask when people really want to talk after I'm fine, which is number 1. What is the number 2 answer that we get? I'm busy, crazily busy, right? How many times did you say this to someone this week? So today we will be talking about why we're getting busy, how we create busyness in our life, the neurology and psychology of creating business, the emotional component of creating business and staying so committed to being busy, what are we trying to hide and what we're trying not to see. We're also going to be talking about the systemic change of business. Everything that we are is part of the social structure. And systemic change means, yes, leaders need to be doing something to change us, but we also can help them understand, demand, request, show, share what is that we want. Without asking for what you want, it's very hard to receive it because people simply don't know. Number 2, we all creating business in our life. And I hope that today with this conversation, you will see how we're doing that. And maybe next day, you will have more awareness of deciding how much you contribute and take this responsibility back in your hand. When we step in our agency and we decide that we're able to change our life, then we change the life of 10 people next to us, who then take it to 10 people in their life. And then they take it to school. And instead of bullying, they start supporting each other. We create the impact that eventually will change the world. And I know this because I'm a mother of 5 children, and some of them are grown up enough to see how the young generation is doing this. They are demanding change, and change is happening. They're conscious about environment. They're much more conscious about what they want. They're much more conscious about diversity and acceptance. So change is possible. And I hope to inspire you to start changing it today. And I also will be posing to take your questions if they come as we move forward. But without further ado, let me start with my presentation for you. It is not designed to necessarily run you through the science, so please interrupt me if you have questions. And if you will be interested, I will share this presentation with those who registered and came to the workshop. So, how to break from the business trap, how we create this trap, and what are the strategies? 5 reasons we create this and 5 strategies to help yourself and those you love and lead to get out of the business trap. I already introduced myself. I am coming to this world, not because it was a happy ride, but because 10 years ago, I literally almost lost my life and the life of my son when my 5th child was born, and I had no idea. I was in extreme burnout, and it almost cost us our life. So mistakes that we make are dramatically changing life of people. It cost us close to $350,000 to get out of this medical debt. It almost cost me my marriage. We still have lingering effects of mental issues that we created for back then teenage children. So I know firsthand that A, burnout is real. B, it is dangerous and expensive. And C, we can change it. So my research into this and my work and commitment to helping and supporting you and others is coming directly from very painful experiences that I personally had to endure. And since then, I went through research and certifications and working with over 10,000 people, trying to help them break out of the truths that we don't realize we created and live in. So how are you? When you ask people, the most common response beyond I'm okay, which we already know is not quite the same as really being okay, is busy. And busy is almost like a badge of honor. Research shows that we're increasingly becoming jam-packed. And in literature, they call this time poverty. We are consistently, chronically feeling that there is not enough time to do all the things that we have on our list. If it resonates with you, put it in the chat, it's me. I want you to own your experience. This time poverty concept showed up in the recent years, and what the research shows is the poverty of time is on the rise. US research shows that people who responded to I never have enough time went 10% from 2011 to 2018. And if we're taking the 200 million people of working population, 160 million population, this is an enormous amount of people who are feeling consistently stressed and anxious. In fact, statistics talk about 77% of us feeling moderately or severely anxious and stressful most of the time. And what's even more dangerous is that for our younger people, under 25, those numbers are in the mid-80 percentile. What research shows that it's an interesting perspective, how we see our relationship with busyness and time. So the social psychology looks at the perceptions that when we have this time fluency, ability to operate in more freedom with our time, we receive the higher psychological well-being experience, which means feeling trapped in a time or managing or not being able to manage our time and delegating our time decisions to someone else who can tap on you and say, hey, I need you now and I need you to do this for me. This is one powerful lever of losing or increasing your psychological well-being experience. The organizational behaviors is talking about how people think even about time is shaped by the structures of your workplace. And so what it means for us is start paying attention. What workplace structures making you perceive your time and therefore influence how you relate to your time and your boundaries and your decisions. And start making a list, because when we understand what that is, we can take actions. We can take it to organizations, to leadership, and start asking for changes in a specific way. So start paying attention to the workplace structures that influence your relationship with time. Legal research also shows that we have all sorts of social structures and government processes that consistently impact our experience with time and our life. What it means? Well, for those of us who work in a global context, that means working with cultures that require significant government processes of applications, etc. But in the social structure, it means something much closer to home for everyone. It means that time that we spend as wives, as women, as fathers, producing, providing, cleaning, and doing things in our structure of the society that we take for granted. Raising children, I can tell you that there is a research that shows that raising one child to the age of 18 costs close to $350,000 in Washington, D.C. area. And a woman who is a homestay mom with several children, is not making, but her cost, her value to the family is nearing $130,000. And yet all of this work that otherwise would take so much to replace is taken for granted. Start paying attention, just like you have a bank account. When you put money in and something comes out, start paying attention to your time banking account. Who is depositing time into your life and who is withdrawing time with or without your permission, and looking at your life in a holistic way as well. Political researchers talk about democratic processes being affected by our time perspective, and on the developmental economic side, it directly builds up to creating a massive impact. According to the Gallup Global Research, 85% of people who are employed global-wise are considering themselves to be not happy and disengaged. That means that 15% of people are really bringing their talent and their full effort to work. And that costs global economy $7.8 trillion, which would be sufficient to help so many people who are struggling with poverty and suffering. So across all the discipline, time poverty is equally important as material poverty in the human welfare. And time is something that is a wealth or poverty for every single one of us. So there's multiple reasons that I hope you will start understanding how these reasons are playing in your life. Corporate culture is definitely a problem, and we are high achievers who demand a lot from ourselves. So contribution that we put into our experience is a big and important component. But I would like to bring you to some interesting twists, how the perception of busyness actually is a blind spot that creates the experience without us realizing that this is what we're doing. So for example, there's an interesting research that shows that when you see people with the special sound blocking ear headphones at work, which kind of hints and suggests the concept of multitasking, because you can listen to the music and work. The research shows that those busy looking people who seem to be multitasking, and we use gadgets for this type of signaling a lot, when you talk and text and drive and do simultaneously multiple things, actually are perceived by the majority of modern Western people as important and impressive, which is the fundamental need of every human being to feel important, impressive, valued, and appreciated, good enough. Anyone is about good enough in this world. Anyone who is feeling that good enough is an important feeling to have. Right? So our body, our mind, our subconscious playing this trick with us. And so when we see people doing this, we intuitively start repeating the same thing, creating that drive for multitasking. Another interesting research shows the more morally admirable people are those who show high effort. We have this ability to value what we put more time and value into. If we put effort into something, even if it's completely meaningless task, we tend to appreciate this more. And yet you can have an amazing value, but because you didn't work for this, it came as a gift, you might disregard and waste it. So when we feel that we're doing something with effort, even if it's completely meaningless, we feel and get perceived as morally more admirable. And morality is a huge emotional factor that drives social connection. And another interesting research comes from the perception that we create of a dominant social status. We're all animals. We all came from evolutionary development, from mammals, tribal social systems, where dominance is the way to survive. And so those inner social subconscious tendencies are consistently driving most of our decisions without us realizing that, unless we take control of awareness. One of them used to be, or is still, different material things. We show what we have so we get more present in the perception of being dominant in our social environment. And it used to be that everyone was working in the Soviet Union where I grew up, that leisure time, going to massage, staying home and not working, doing the manicure, pedicure, used to be only accessible to women and wives of rich people and oligarchs when the society split up in early 90s. Leisure was then a dominant social status in that culture. However, in the West, and especially in the United States, this is opposite. Work is the dominant social status, and we use it just like we use the fancier car and the bigger house and the nice diamond rings. So it's expensive. I'm just not going to try to sell this much to you, but when we have incentives built for our teams and people based on the time they work, people also get excessive monitoring of their activities. And that includes, by the way, you monitoring your teens and your children doing their homework. They get busy doing this, not necessarily learning from what they're doing. We overwork people and create that drive to be consistently in that adrenaline state of biochemical process. And it leads to exhaustion and burnout, which leads to productivity drop. We cannot work as effective when we are in a tired state. And ultimately, for the communities, for the businesses, it does lead to disengagement, burnout, absenteeism, etc. But in your career development, it also means that you're not showing up in the full empowered state. It also means that you're not showing up for your relationship, because when we're in a burnout, three things happen. We're exhausted, we emotionally exhausted, and actually move into very critical defense mechanism of being critical and passive aggressive, which definitely doesn't help any of our relationship, from work to clients to children to relationship with these loved ones. And we start sliding in our self-esteem and feeling that we're good enough, able enough, capable enough, which affects how we show up for our careers, for our businesses and families. So busyness trap is created when we start thinking of how hard I work trumps your feeling of value, of creativity, productivity, and engagement. For you, that means work is more important than life. And for the organizations, that means that busy people are treated better than creative, productive, and engaged people who come with passion, which opens up to innovation, which also leads to high level of relatively failing activities. That's how innovation works, with 85% of it failing. So I am curious if you could take a look at yourself and have a number. Let's go like percentage wise. 1%, I barely work and I'm all leisure. 100%, I work a lot. What is the percentage that you feel you spend at work, or thinking about work, or connected to work, or not being able to show up for your children and loved ones because of the anxiety or stress or something that prevents you related to work anyway? And just try to be like honest with yourself. I would say that with everything I know, everything I teach, working with people all the time, helping and supporting them, I would say that my personal busyness trap coefficient is kind of in the 85%. And it's very uncomfortable to be able to talk about this, but knowing that, I know that the next target is 80, and then it will be 75, and then it will be down and down and down. It used to be significantly higher even then. So what do we see in the numbers, Firuza?
So I see, like you said, 70, 80, 95.
Yeah, so let's just like decide that you want to talk this to yourself. So if you are basically over 50%, think what it means. It means that you work, so you leave, right? Or you leave, so you work. That's a decision that we have to make, right? And I understand that there are people who will be saying it's impossible, and it is possible. And it is possible, and it's possible to get on trajectory to go down, 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 and down. How do I know that it's possible? Because I almost lost someone, and trust me, I put my career on bigger hold. I created space and boundaries with my employees, and for 2 years, when Alex needed me, I was working all the time, but every 3 hours I was home to nurse, to do my to do the occupational therapy session with him, and do the physical therapy that I had to do to get his neurology back to where I wanted it to be. And every 3 hours I was home for him and my 2-year-old and my 3 older kids at that time. And then I would go back, and then I will come back and nurse, and then go back, and I will come back, nurse, and go back. And guess what? I managed to build a career in the World Bank, which is a pretty demanding organization, for 2 years, being home every 3 hours for my son. It is possible, but I'm not saying it's easy. But if you commit, if you understand, you can. And that's what I'm here today for, to hopefully inspire you to try. All of these considerable costs are huge for you, even when you are at work. Research shows that people spend 5.5 hours on average worrying and ruminating about things at home while sitting at the desk and pretending to be at work. That means that you're already not working half of the day. You might as well show up, do half of the day work, and then go home and be happy. So it impairs your health. We're not going to be talking about 122,000 people every year die at work from stress and being bullied by their own colleagues. Amazing statistics. But the good news is that pandemic helped to waken up, to reassess how people build their relationship with work. And that means higher negotiating power. You don't have to do this alone, but everyone, and I work with leaders all the time, they all confused. They all don't know what to do, which means it's an opportunity to bring the conversation to them. You don't have to do this alone. You group with other people, you show up in staff association, you exchange phone numbers and emails right here in the chat. You join us who are doing this for free to help, to support, to elevate the conversation. But anything that you do is better than doing nothing. It's an opportunity, and you have negotiating power. So know what you want. Think creatively of how you want your life to become. Listen to these best practices we're going to share, and then do something better than doing nothing. And create opportunity for your leaders to know what it is for them to do. They're also human. They're very human people. And no one that I know wakes up in the morning thinking, how can I screw up more people today? No one. And yet, decisions we make as leaders in the community, in life, in family, at work, unfortunately create the conditions that lead 77% of people to anxiety and stress. We want to make right decisions, but we don't know. It's a dialogue, and we have to speak up and talk. So let's talk about the 5 reasons why we create this busyness addiction, and I mistyped, and what are the 5 strategies that we can implement. Number 1, personal level. It's not necessarily your fault, but it is your accountability. You create the environment and reality that you live in. There is one of the inner biases, that automatic subconscious predisposition we have to effort justification. The harder you work to achieve something, the higher they value you, and you value what you've done, and you value yourself, even if it's completely meaningless task. There are research that is funny to read, but to know. People were put in the condition where they were supposed to sit for 15 minutes, and if there's nothing else to do, they could shock themselves with electrical shock. And people were coming in, obviously would say, no, I would never do this. Why would I shock myself? And yet, a huge percentage, 25% of women and over 60% of men, ended up choosing shocking themselves while they were doing nothing, idling. Another research shows that people were willing to sit there and open and close bracelets than to do nothing and just be with themselves and their thoughts. We create busyness because we forgot what it means to stay with yourself and know what it feels to be human and connect to your emotions. So fail to notice when you're too busy and you're creating the burnout for yourself, and you're teaching your kids how to do this. Social level. Organizations also have this mindless attitude. They call it culture. But culture of business, once established, tends to just persist unchanged, and we call it culture, when in reality, it's bad habits. You always have a moment to be agent of change. It's why is change what's not broken? It's broken. You just didn't break it to the extent I had to break, but it is broken. Because if you live in anything less than 9 and 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, you're not thriving. And not thriving is not the society we want to build. So if you see culture, speak up. It's just a bad habit. Habits can be changed. They are skills. We can communicate. We can change them. But it's impossible to change if you're not speaking up. On the business level, it's embedded in the fabric of organization. Day-to-day activities, how we respond to emails, how we respond to meetings. Do we show up? Do we accept? Do we ask? Do we not ask? Do we put boundaries? This is all a piece of a puzzle, and you can speak and bring this to strategic level of understanding to your leaders. They are here to do the good job too. It just requires a little bit of courage, the courageous leadership of self, to understand what I want and bring solutions to them for dialogue. But instead, what happens? Well, we need to do this priority thing. Well, I can't, we're busy. We're so busy that we can't do what's important. What's the priority? Doing what? So we will be doing this mini tiny exercise about how you are busy. But let's just get 2 more reasons how we build this up. When the organizations encourage busy behavior, employees rarely resist, right? I told you about the studies about this idle inactivity, it's called in psychology. We're not comfortable to sit and do nothing. And I want to show you your own space. I'll ask you to do nothing and just breathe with me for 1 minute. And watch how unbearable that mini pause is. So what I'd like you to do is all get up, smile, and do nothing for 1 minute. Just breathe. There was a way doing nothing. So I'm curious, how was your experience? Was it easy? Was it good? Was it pleasant? Was it unsettling? How was a minute of being in embrace with yourself, your breath, your body, and silence? What did you notice that you didn't notice before?
Someone said they noticed a sculpture in their room that they didn't see before. And somebody felt that they had a moment for themselves, wanted it to be more than a minute. Somebody had a moment to look outside.
Beautiful. So let me ask you that. How many of you felt an emotion? So there was calmness. There was listening to my heartbeat. It was a little date with yourself. Happy. There was a moment of happiness, peace. Did anyone feel anxiety, uncomfortable feeling that I'm wasting time, or grief or sadness? Nothing happened. Sky didn't stop. Yes, there's sadness is coming through. There was anxiety coming through. All of this is good. It means you just connecting to the bodies, the biochemical reactions. That's all emotions are. They keep signaling your energy flows and your interaction. And so it's listening constantly and feeding back. And when you start listening, we start hearing. But we're sometimes afraid to hear that. And we get busy, 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 head. trying to control so we break out of the anxiety. That's all it is. Trying to feel the control so we can counteract the anxiety that we feel in the changing world that is busy and disconnected. So let's move on. Thank you for playing with me. There is a fifth one that I also want to bring to your attention, why on the business side, we're also consistently creating this busyness, because when we see effort or show effort, it feels as if it's worth. And that's what we do in things for people. Anyone people pleasers here? Like, say hello to people pleasers here. People who will do everything to everyone else. So I feel that I mean something. I'm worthy. I am good enough. Anyone who has this experience, put in the chat if you know someone who does this all the time. And so we continuously give and fix and change the world so we don't have time for ourselves, right? But understand that this is inner conscious things that if you bring to your awareness, you can step into your agency, take accountability for your actions and change and act and show up differently, right? So let's go into strategies. 5 strategies to reverse the course. I'm going to go fast through them because some of them will resonate with you more or less, but I want you to have them, and they come in, they're not exclusive, there are multiple more, but there's some range that are best practices that help people on different levels, from personal to mid management to higher levels. So you help yourself, you create this for people you lead and love at home or at work, and you suggest this to your leadership. One is how we reward the output and not just activity. It cannot be either one, it has to be both. If you get what you get what you pay for. So if you're paying attention to how much output you put in, that might the need to consistently get validated. And we see this in children all the time. Look, I have A. Look, I have A minus. I am the best. Right? But we also do this at work as well. And that leads to burnout and constant action, needing to be validated. But if we pay attention just on the activity, then we get meaningless action and we stretch it. And that's what we notice in whenever you pay by an hour someone, they significantly slow down. The percentage could be up to 20% slower performance based on the fact that people are paid by an hour. People produce less result, longer time, and having the reward system, whether we're talking about business reward for your employees or for your team or children or your spouse or your loved ones, this reward system, which humans are so that we work on punish and reward. This is our 2 carrots and a stick. I invite you to reevaluate how you reward yourself and what are you praising and celebrating in yourself, the output, the activity, or both. If this resonates with you, please put strategy like number 1 resonates. Number 1 strategy is decide to reevaluate how you reward yourself, your loved ones, and people that you work with. The strategy number 2, there are 2 types of work for our brain, the deep work and the shallow work. The deep work is when we go creative. It's a high value work. It's when we need to go deep and stay in that longer. The shallow work would be something that is much more habitual. It's easy things that we do with logistics. They do not require lots of time, but usually they come with the notifications and ringing and binging, and so they feel like they're very urgent. And we often see that people go for urgent over important, and that is a big problem. So let's give it a try and just look at your calendar today, and we're going to do 3 little things. You're going to list what you have scheduled in your schedule for today, because what's in your schedule means it's priority or important, or so you thought because you put it in. Then we're going to rate what we see in that, and then you're going to make a decision based on what you see, how much you want to take it forward or make a tiny little pivot. Good enough? So we're going to do a 4D framework. What we do is important and urgent. For you, important for you. What we decide to do later, it's what's still important to you, but not urgent. It can wait until next week. Everything else that is not important to you, but important to someone else, we delegate. We delegate to habits, automation, technology, or people. And if it's not important to you and it's not urgent, we learn to delete and say no. That's a 4D. Do, decide, delegate, delete. So let's make a quick list. We'll take 30 seconds to look at your calendar. What's on your calendar? Let's make a list of your actions. I'll give you like 20 seconds to look at your calendar. Make a list that you put in your calendar, which means you consider this to be important enough. So, what are the activities that we have on the list? Who has date with a husband and coffee in the morning? 15 minutes conversation with my son or daughter? Who has a big project to be completed by 4 p.m.? Working in the morning. Well, working how? Working how? Work is an activity that is not definable, right? Specific activities will be either the deep work, when you sit down and you develop the new framework, the new policy, you work on deep, important something at work, or is that respond to 27 emails and make 5,000 phone calls? This is the difference between deep and shallow work. They're both important, but they're different because they require different brain functions and different energy and different systems that we activate within us. Okay, whatever comes up, I see the plan. That seems to be responsive to urgent. Someone else is telling needs to do it and I'm jumping on it. What is that we to decide? We don't manage time. We make our decision about our time. That's all we manage, our decision, our comfort level. Okay, so we have a couple answers. Awesome. Now you have this list. The number 2 step, rate it on scale 1 to 5. 5 being really important, really helps me to feel fulfilled in my life, versus 1 being, I would only remember what I've done 2 weeks later. Nicole has a great question. What about stuff you want to do, but it's not in the schedule? If it's not in the schedule, you're not going to find time to do this, because schedule is what will decide what's done. So if you have something that you want to do, put it on a schedule and block the time. You have 1,000 minutes a day. All of us have it. How we decide on this 1,000 minutes a day, it's your decision. If you don't decide, someone else will, trust me. So if you want to have a 30 minutes time coffee with your spouse, put it on a schedule and block it as the meeting. If you want to have 30 minutes for yourself to go for a walk, that's a date with the most important person in the world, the CEO of life, you, the connected, expanded, open-minded self. That's important. You put it in a schedule and then it's blocked for everyone else. But there is only one way to live your life, is design it. Design the way you want. Yes, we do have some tricks and opportunities to play, and we will be talking about this 3 or 4 weeks from now on the 4th workshop, how to set your calendar and how to manage your calendar and boundaries and how to say no. So do not miss that. But today we're just talking about decide. Look at your schedule and see what you put in. What's the scale on the 1 to 5? If you're living in 5s, awesome life. If you're living in 1s, let's decide what we want to do about this. Is that what you want to do, or delegate, or delete?
So someone is asking, they get assignment from their colleague that the colleague can do, but they're asking them to do it. So I think they're wondering how they can get out of the situation like that. What would be your advice?
We call it boundaries. Boundaries is a very simple step. It's finding the distance where you love yourself and you love them, and you find a way to communicate that. And the simplest way to do this, it's not easy, but it's simple, is to use this simple system. Thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate you. You thank them and you appreciate them for including your expertise in their consideration. And then you say no, if this is what you're saying. I won't be able to do this. without explaining why, because that's your decision. You don't have to justify it to anyone or anything. But then you come with a step 3. You can think about what will be helpful to them. It's not just love me, but it's also love them. They might need an advice of who can help them, if you can help them to get better in doing what they might want, or maybe it's not now, but it could be next week. So you run this 4D. I decide if I do it, if I delay it, but still do it, if I delegate it to them, or it's not going to happen. So how does it look? It looks like that. Could you do this for me? Oh, thank you so much for thinking of me. I really appreciate you including me. I can't do it right now, but I could try to do this after March 10th. Would that work for you? They will answer, and then you will be able to negotiate a little bit more. The other approach would be, thank you for including me in this, and I really appreciate you asking me. I won't be able to do this, but perhaps Martha can help you, or I can ask Judy to help you, or maybe we can think of something when I'm back. You give them options, so they might have no ideas. Option number 3, thank you for thinking of me. I really appreciate that. I won't be able to do this because of the projects they already have. If there's anything I can help you, or maybe I can mentor you through something. You give them options. Appreciate people, stay open and loving to yourself with a polite no, and then offer solutions that expand their ability to stay powerful in their own decision. And then you just wait for a no for this process, and then you take a pause. And the pause is a very difficult thing to do. Does this make sense? Does it help? Does it answer your question? But yes, no, if that resonates with you guys. It's not easy, but it's really simple. Appreciate, no, help you by suggesting options and opportunities, and then stay open for whatever support you might give them. But I'm not doing this. It's a no. And I love myself and I love you. So, couple things that you can think of shallow tasks. First, identify them, know what they are. Eliminating emails is one way of doing this. Call sometimes is easier to synchronize. No meeting policy could be another strategies that companies use, teams use, or you can request, or maybe just one day of no meeting policy. On Fridays, I don't have meetings. I am not available. On Fridays, I work deep work. I create, for example. Eliminating phone calls for some other people might be that a solution. Because I hate phone calls. It's on my time. It doesn't work. I'm busy. I'm doing things. You can't interrupt me. It takes 23 minutes for the brain to come back to the activity that you interrupted for just 30 seconds. So I don't take phone calls. My phone is on silence. And if people need to leave a message, they will. But I also communicate that this is how I work. This is how I'm best. This is how I'm most efficient. And people know that. They respect this because they know the rules. They understand how to get an efficiency, and you get things done. And everyone is smiley and loving and respectful. So ask the team. There's no one solution that fits all, but do know that you have to communicate after you understand what you want to do. Mind your mind. There's a neuroscience of rest. What requires for your attention, demanding task, we call it task positive network of your brain, negatively correlates to the activity that is in thinking. Thinking is a noise in your head. Try not to think for 10 seconds. Go. Did you manage to not think? Put yes if yes, no if no. Just like the heart is beating, the breath is breathing, the brain is producing waves and activities, which we call thoughts. It is what brain does. Mind operates on attention. So there is a noise, and then there is a focused attention. If you're stuck in the noise, you're working on the automatic systems, and you're in this ADD sort of world. Practicing the skill of focused attention and intentionally shutting down the distractions is a skill, and we just build it as we go if you want to do this. So brains that engage in specific time task are not able to simultaneously go into this relaxed space. So we need to understand that we have three modalities in life. You can be at work, you can be at rest, and you can be at play. And if you don't have this built in your calendar, then we need to talk, because it's that easy. Work, play, rest. How does the play look? Let's get up for a second. And let's just jump and have fun and play and jump and jump. And I'm going for 10 seconds. I can be a kid. I can do whatever. This is fun for me. That was a moment of playfulness. It took us 15 seconds, but notice your body. The heart is going, the oxygen is going, the smile is coming, because the body loves playfulness. It loves change of activities. And you are the one who decide. To thrive, you must play. You need to allow your mind to wander. That's called innovation. You can play with different time off. There are strategies that other companies use. There's companies that came up with unlimited vacation days. People take them even less than scheduled. Compulsory paid time off policies. If you open the email while you were on vacation, you must return money back for the stipend for vacation. True time off, meaning there's systems that delete emails and send the information to the sender. Your email was deleted, resend after a certain time. And out of office email programs that do not allow emails to come into your life. That takes a little bit of discipline and courage, but you can do this because you are role model for someone else. People are watching you and they will be following your lead, whether you're a team or a parent leader or a community leader. So talk to managers. Tell them when their behavior triggers you. When the manager sends to me something at 1 a.m. and I'm awake, of course I get triggered. I want to be right there. So discuss, talk, ask for change and solutions. And if you are a manager, show that busyness is not a prerequisite to success. There are norms that you set and people follow because they follow the leader. They trust you. And then the most important component, have a stress, rest, stress, rest, stress, rest ladder. Every hour, 90 minutes, 2 minutes break, 5 minutes break, jump, play, laugh, listen to music. And most importantly, know that if you're a leader, you have to lead by example, not by words. If your children watch you doing nothing but work, doesn't matter what you teach them in your words. They will be the same busy bees. Share vacation plans, share strategies when you're distracted, what you do, how does it help you? And schedule meetings for a walk. You can stand in the meetings, you can walk together. You don't have to be pinned to the computer. And the final strategy, slack on purpose. What does that mean? Think of abilities to how to enhance your resources, more time, more space, more people, more equipment creatively. Ask grandmother to come and babysit. Ask the colleague to take twice the work here and you do twice the work on the other side that is easier for you. Relocate resources. You can think of a strategic way of micro teaming people, which gives the agility of helping each other and cutting the time. Agility of standard operating procedures. If something must be done this way, but sometimes it can be slacked. But if it's preparedness to this, and it's a permission to do this, and there is a contingency plans, people are not stressing out. They see the agility instead. And finally, human redundancy, micro teamwork. It might sound like it's expensive, but it saves you so much more in not losing people and having the best work people available to you. So, in the summary, We use busyness to avoid lots of things, issues, feelings, conversations. Corporate culture does reward busyness, but you can talk about this and start reversing the trend. The rebel behavior, reimagining the reward system, role model in different behavior starts with you. Ask for what you want if you're not given. Model this behavior to people who look up to you. Build synergy with your body, with technology and leadership, not competition, not war. See how we can help each other and reinvent what you want. If you don't know what you want, you cannot get there. It's impossible to get to the destination if you don't know where you're going. Sit down, imagine, show up for the workshops, work on your plan. If you have the idea what you want to build, you will build it. Stop fighting the war, win the peace. And if you don't know how, ask. We're here to help. We'll see you next week. We will be having these conversations on different topics every single Wednesday, and we also have some other alternative presentations on nutrition, on fitness. It's all in your registration. And if you have questions, please reach out. You can reach out to me personally. I'm leaving my information because sometimes it's more comfortable to speak one-on-one and privately, or post your questions in the chat and we will respond to you by emails. Any questions, any final comments? What was the greatest value for you?
For me, it's always useful to remember the 4D framework and also remember keeping the boundaries. These two strategies work for me. It's very easy to get lost, but when it comes to really taking a rest and then rethinking what should be done differently, these two strategies work for me.
Great. So 4D to refresh, this is do, delay, delegate, delete. And the boundaries, love myself, love other. How does it look? Appreciate, thank you. I'm not doing this. Here's options to help you see if there is a different solution. And you'll be surprised how many times people literally would say, oh, okay. Try it.
That's true.
I challenge
That's
you.
true.
Say no to a few people and see what happens. And you will see 70% of the time people say, oh, okay, no big deal. Ask questions, comment. What's your biggest takeaway? Work smart, not hard. That's awesome. Playtime. Work, rest, play. 3 different dimensions of your body. All of them will make you much more productive, and you will be amazed what you can achieve with a much shorter time. People who work with us in these programs save between 7 and 15 hours a week that they open up for themselves. And we'll be talking about this in the next few sessions. Thank the person, give options. Yes, boundary is a healthy communication with the person when you find the distance, when you love yourself and love them. And so thanking them, it's a love to them. Saying no to myself is a love to me. Helping them to see options and feel empowered, it's a love to them. And this is the communication that we're building in this society. Refuse to work sometimes. It's okay to choose you. It's okay to choose you because you have gifts that you have to give to this society, to the world. And you cannot shine your gifts if you never have time to even understand what they are and yet alone express them. That is what makes you healthy, wealthy, successful, and fulfilled. Take a break every hour. 3 minutes of jumping and loving your heart will pump oxygen into every cell in your body, including one organ that makes all the decisions. So love yourself, breathe, take time, cry when you need to, reach out. Do not do this alone. We didn't create this by ourselves. We cannot solve this problem ourselves. So I encourage you to show up for the next session. We're going to be meeting at 12 o'clock on Wednesdays for the rest of the month, and a couple additional sessions in the registration. Reach out if you need any help. If you have questions, you have options to reach out to me as well. And I want to thank you so much for showing up and staying strong for yourself. Thank you very much. Much appreciate you. Wishing you absolutely awesome day. And don't forget, love yourself, shine your light, be awesome as you are. And that starts with a decision. Be you. do you, love you. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.